Today I'm going to talk about something on a more personal note. I'm going to give you some things to think about before you marry or get into a relationship with somebody 10 plus years older than you. This is not intended to be a negative review of marrying an older spouse, but these are some of the things I wish I had really looked at closely, considered more thoroughly, and thought about in my life going forward with this person prior to committing to the relationship. The first thing I want to talk about is the financial picture of an older person. When you date somebody older, you might see they have a car or a house or a business, and you may think that they're more financially sound or more financially savvy than you are. You may think that they're smarter than you in other areas besides finance, and you're willing to just go along with their advice or what they're telling you or how they perceive life because they come from a different decade. They really come from a different generation. So you're more likely not to question maybe as much when you're younger and that person is older. And one of the things I wish I had questioned more was the financial picture that my husband portrayed. Yes, he had a house, but the house belonged to him and his ex-wife. And when they sold it, he only gets half. And then he had to give over half of his half to someone he had borrowed money from to buy into the business he was in. I was totally unaware of that picture. I also don't think he really thought about saving, retirement, children, and he had nothing really put aside. So all that was there in his bank account when we got married was what he got from his house. And back in the 80s, houses weren't selling for $500,000. And I was pretty new out of college. I was, again, over 11 years younger than him. And we were starting a family, and finances turned out to be pretty tight. I had thought that being a businessman, having his own company, he did have partners, that things were going to be a little easier. I also realized that today people keep their accounts separate. They only use joint accounts when they're paying their joint bills, such as maybe rent or food. They keep their credit cards separately. And back then, everything was joint. So if something went south and something bad happened, both our names were generally on everything. So it affected me going forward once we were married. Also, another thing people might look at now, which I didn't think of to do because it wasn't commonplace, is what's their credit score? How much debt do they have? Do they have any, liens or IRS problems? These are all really important things to know before you get involved with somebody. And it turned out that there were some IRS issues with my husband's company. Things were being paid out of his company. There was a whole bunch of things that I was not totally aware of. And sometimes people, when they get married and then they start to have children and they've lived this life of freewheeling and free dealing where they did not have really any responsibilities other than themselves, and they had two incomes coming in because him and his wife both worked, things change dramatically, and they don't change with the time. They think they can continue living the life that they had prior to being married with a family. And that is a problem in the finance department. And I wish I had been a little bit more proactive. And I learned over time that he was not good at managing money. But at a certain point, damage had been done and it had to be rectified. And it took years to do that. So I'm just giving you the take that I have from my experience, that you cannot just depend on this person because he's older, that he's going to know more in the finance department or in any other area that might impact your life as a couple. The second area I want to touch on briefly is the age difference does affect your intimacy. And I know that in the end, most of the time, the older person is getting more out of it than the younger person. And so I want you to be aware that, yes, everyone has a different time clock based on those things, but overall, it's more exciting and inviting for the older person to have the younger person in the bedroom than it really is for you to have the older man in the bedroom. There's a lot less going on, and in retrospect, you really have to think long and hard how this is going to impact you as you get older. Because when you turn 35 and that person could be pushing 50, it is not the same as when he was 35 and he's dating you at 20. So just keep that in mind when it comes to intimacy. Another thing I realized dating someone older is sometimes they cannot change their ways. They're used to being freewheeling and easygoing with the money and with their relationships. And when I got married, I didn't realize this, but my husband just was like into, being at work 5 days a week and thinking the weekends were his own, that he could go out and spend uh, 3/4 of the day on Saturday playing tennis, leaving me home with my children. And I really resented that, and it led to counseling. But the bottom line of it is that it was with his ex-wife's cousin. And he kept saying, I'm playing with my cousin. And it wasn't his cousin, it was his ex-wife's. And I really felt betrayed also at that point, because sometimes it's bad enough when they have kids and they have to maintain a relationship with their ex-wife, but he did not have to maintain a relationship at all. And I felt like this was a bridge to get back with her, to get towards her, to get nearer to her. And I really did not like that. And eventually he did end up completely breaking off that relationship of playing tennis. And he, wasn't upset with me, but I think he realized that it really upset me. It wasn't fair to the relationship. We needed to work on us and not be pulled in different directions based on prior relationships or prior friendships. So it was something that had to be acknowledged. That's one of the things with being friends with people that are older or people that are younger. Some of those relationships are based on his relationship with the ex, or being just with his friends from his generation that he grew up with. Same with you. Could be somebody that you dated, could be in the group of friends that you're no longer dating, but he could be in that scenario. And when you keep continually going towards those friendships, you are bringing that old person back into the mix, and it's not a good thing. So I feel that if you're getting married and you're thinking about marrying somebody older, please think about it long and hard. Take all the issues that I went through and maybe look at them from your relationship standpoint, see if any of them might be uh, coming into play at all, or maybe you're questioning them now. And I'm not saying that you should never marry somebody older than you, but I did learn some hard lessons along the way of what, just in general, relationships are hard. So you now add age into it, it becomes even harder. The fourth thing you really need to understand is how the dynamics of your friendships with people outside of your marriage or outside of your relationship are going to be viewed or impacted. A lot of times when you're dating or up until the time you're even married, you will really just kind of go along with the flow. You may not have as much issues hanging out with his older friends. He might not have issues hanging out with your younger friends. He may not have issues doing things that are out of his comfort zone because they are kind of young and childish in some ways, or you may not want to do things because they remind you of being with your parents. So you have to really think long and hard how your friends are going to be impacted, the outside relationships of your friendships, such as girlfriends, boyfriends, anything that you may have going on that's apart from the relationship you have with this significant other. A lot of times you cannot replicate the same feelings for those people as you could for him. I can, truly love this older person, but do I love their older friends? Not necessarily. Do I even like their older friends? Not necessarily. Do I feel that they're kind of dowdy or fuddy-duddy-ish? Maybe. Do I want to be around with people who have constraints on their time because they have children already? Maybe not really. So that's one of the things. And does he want to hang out with people that are 10 plus years younger than him, that are out partying or out going on their Friday and Saturday jaunts, to the clubs? And, he was willing to do that prior to getting married, but maybe not so much after. So now you're going to have to together create a whole new basis of friendships that kind of meet yours and his criteria as far as how you can get along, and whether you can really mesh these age differences with the friendships that are outside of your marriage together. One of the things I learned also going forward in a relationship is I did not have a history or a past with this person. So I did not grow up with them. I did not go through high school or college with them. I did not see them, mature or blossom or become the man that, I would think they might be. I was taken by a person totally out of that zone. And I assumed that that person was exactly as he portrayed to me at this point in time. Little did I find out that my husband really had a major weight issue. And at the time when I met him, he had just lost a lot of weight prior to him getting divorced. And I slowly realized that as we were going on in our relationship, his weight was slowly creeping up. Then we got married, I had children, I gained weight, and he gained weight. I lost it, he kept it on, and the weight just kept coming. Then I realized that this person has a real weight issue, has an eating issue, and I was totally unaware of it. It's totally like trying to find out after the fact that this person has a gambling problem or he's a closet alcoholic. You just don't know that because you don't have a history with that person. And it's really easy to hide certain things from your partner up until a point. And as the relationship went on, my husband got heavier and heavier, became less and less appealing to me. I have to honestly say that's not one of the things that attracted me to him. Not that he was skinny, but that he wasn't overweight. I had been overweight as a teen. I never wanted to get that way again, and I never did. I stayed slim throughout all my pregnancies. I had healthy children, healthy babies, but I always kept the weight off. I exercised, ate healthy, and I monitored my health because I felt it was important for me, not as just a mother, but as a wife and a partner in a relationship. And I went into the relationship with him seeing me as a healthy, vibrant person. And that quickly went out the window with his weight issue. He was no longer vibrant. He was no longer active. And it became more and more of a problem in our relationship. All the things I talked about are actually reality things that happened to me personally. They may not have happened to hundreds of other women who have been married to somebody older, but they are things that do happen even in the best of relationships, whether you're marrying somebody closer to your age or not. But there are some of the things that you are going to misconstrue because the person is older, such as financial savviness, or that he's going to be around for a long time. And you don't think about any of those things when you're 25, but when you're 60, you're going to start to think about that. So I want you to understand that all these things are just factors that you can review in your heart and in your soul and in your mind prior to going forward and committing to a relationship with somebody older than you that you may not be able to see through to the end. So if this video helps you in that endeavor of your heart, please use it. And thank you for watching. And I hope you have a great day.